Hey, yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Tour Mix Turn. We are back once again with another episode for y'all. How are you doing today, Steven?
Amazing. Exquisite, I might even say.
Yes. Talking all fancy to show that we're distinguished gentlemen.
Yes, very distinguished.
In our very distinguished setup, talking about very distinguished things, like while you play Hello Kitty games.
Exactly. Yeah, you guys may notice that I'm not in Steven's corner, and that's because Will decided that it would be a great idea to let me know that he was moving our recording to 9 o'clock instead of 7. So...
I know what he's talking about. He's making everything up. I would never.
Yeah. He actually asked me before the episode, he was like, I'm surprised that you haven't gone back home yet, because if you didn't know, finals week for, I think, most colleges was last week. The reason I'm still here was because of, like, some flight stuff that I was going to be doing, but I'm not doing that now, so actually, I have no reason to be here, and I can go home anytime I want. But I just found out about that today, so I didn't go home today.
We should have had this podcast episode recorded while he was on the road, traveling back home.
Yes. Title of the episode is Steven gets into a car accident while recording a podcast episode.
Steven, go ahead and tell me more about that game you're playing. Hey, there's a car coming from your right. Let's go. Very convincing acting right there.
You just hear sirens, there's blue lights in the background.
No, you get into a high-speed car chase. Have you seen those videos where it's just like a bunch of where it's like a high-speed police chase and there's it's like on the news and there's like a commentator, it's like, he just switched lanes. He just made a right. He just made a left. It's like people treat it like a sport,
like it's a
sports
show.
Commentary. You like turn the channel on TV to ESPN one day and it's just
ESPN is just professional
like,
car
ESPN
chasing.
Commentary is just like, hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the car chase. Today, our contestants are this 2020 Honda Civic versus the MIPD. We have a really exciting matchup today. Let's see if the police can catch up to this Honda Civic.
And that's just the entire episode of our podcast. ESPN coverage of professional car chasing.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say our entire episode is we just pull up a live police chase right now. Just look one up and we just we're trying this. That's already there, and we add our own commentary.
We're turning this into a reaction channel. We're turning this into a reaction channel.
Oh yeah, we're just gonna have the entire video play, and we're gonna be in the corner, and we're just gonna look at it like. Wow. That car really just did that.
What a bold move. What a bold move.
Just these dead stares, just like looking, not even looking at the camera, just looking off to the side.
How does he even do that? How does he even do that? Could you do that, Will? Look at that. That's crazy.
I know, right?
Oh my gosh. Oh, no way. No, he's actually going for it. There's no way.
If you're wondering, by the way, yes, that is ice I'm eating. It's not relevant to anything going on in the podcast, but nothing we're talking about here is relevant to what we were going to talk about. We haven't even gotten to the small talk section, and we're already talking about
if you want to know, if you guys want to know what Will wrote out, as you know, we started following a scripted format for our episodes to make things more coherent, or as coherent as they can be with us running the show. But what he wrote down for our first topic,
by the way, we're not talking about. We already have a transcript of everything we're going to say.
We have a list of topics. We have a list of topics
that
we're
would be
gonna talk
funny
about.
though if I just made a script that was just the entire transcript of what we had to say, and it's just
Then we are
like
just gonna be
20
blankly
pages.
staring at
no,
the
it's
screen.
gonna be like 60 pages full of stuff, and Steven said something out of line, and I'm just like, Steven, you didn't follow the transcript.
You didn't follow the script. You're fired. You're fired. Get off this podcast.
But yeah,
He literally wrote down, Will and Steven can say whatever. So
yeah, this first section is just gonna be small talk, which I guess that's what we're doing right now. So I mean, like, once we're done with small talk, we can get on to like the more in-depth topics where we just like,
yeah,
I don't know.
I wanted to bring attention to this.
To use to something.
I wanted to bring attention to this, even though it seems like it's not going to be as interesting as I thought. I thought it would be more interesting after last week's discussion about the Iron Bowl, but I think a lot of people's surprise, Alabama won the SEC championship. Yeah, they beat Georgia somehow. I don't know how. I didn't watch the game, so I don't know what happened, but that's what happened.
Yeah, let's talk about this game that neither of us have actually watched.
Yeah. So I brought it up to Will, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I didn't see that. I don't know what you're talking about." You see, here's the thing: like, I like football, but I don't like watching. He gave me this whole rant about his view on sports. So I don't know, but that's what happened. I guess it's not as.
It was just rant on sports. But yeah, just to condense what I said. I have a weird relationship with football. It's not really a relationship, but like a weird look at it. Was like I like the sport. Like
he's having an affair with the sport.
the whole sport's my mistress. Nah.
Yeah.
But like, I like football and I like the sport, and I like being part of like not really playing it, but like doing things like filming football and stuff like that. But a lot of times I'd rather do other things than watch football, which is, I imagine that could be a little weird for some people, but it's just like, I don't know how else to describe it. It's just like, but yeah, that's basically what I said. And Steven was just like, yeah, but we're talking about this Iron Bowl. You're an Alabama fan. You're supposed to watch the championship no matter what.
I didn't say that. I didn't say it like that. Let's not misrepresent anything here, okay?
You held me at gunpoint. I felt threatened.
But see, what you guys didn't see was I was actually in his dorm room seconds ago, threatening him, threatening his life because he didn't watch the SEC championship, and that is an unforgivable sin for someone who calls himself an Alabama fan.
I'm sorry. I just had.
No,
I'm pretty sure that day too. I had a football game, like a Jacksonville game that had to. Well, wait, no, that's not true. The day before, no.
Tries to remember.
The week before, during the Iron Bowl, was our final game of the regular season. But this week, I guess this could be a good transition to what I wanted to talk about for this first section. Is what I'm going to be doing. So. JSU, Jacksonville, they have entered a bowl game. And apparently this is like...
You heard that right. You're not tripping. You guys heard that right. A Conference USA team made it into a bowl game. I know. It's crazy. And they're not even that good. They're ranked 3rd. Meanwhile, I'm over here at Auburn, which is a Power 5 school doing worse in their regular season than Jacksonville State. So, go figure, I guess. Yeah, if you didn't catch on,
I legitimately forgot where I was going with that because I just had to take a second to look at Steven.
I mean, don't do that. You'll hurt your eyes. If you didn't get the memo, what I was trying to convey, I was trying to say that Auburn sucks at football.
Yeah, go ahead, spell it out.
Just in case you,
But no.
just in case you didn't get it.
But no, what I was gonna say is, so during this week, I'm going to be in New Orleans, and usually for away games, we always travel there on like, let's say the game is on Saturday. We travel there on Friday to like make sure we're into town, and then the next day, that's when the game happens. Well, they're doing things differently this year because it's like the first year that we've ever. Here's what I was trying to say. This is the first year where we've ever been in like an actual bowl game, and this is like, so because of that, we like the whole entire film crew, we thought we were done after our last game, and then we got the news. Oh nah, we got another bowl game, so y'all ain't off the
Y'all aren't off the hook yet.
Y'all still gotta work. And we're just like, why? Like,
we thought we were gonna go home.
I remember, no. I remember we were on the plane ride back, and the coach was like, "Congratulations, y'all made the bowl game," and everyone's just like, "Whoa, yeah!" And
the film crew's like,
"Oh!" We just kind of looked at each other. We're just like, "No, we were supposed to be done."
The contrast between people who play the game and who like do other jobs for the game is like the players are like, "Yeah, we made it. We're good enough for a bowl game." The film crew's like, "We thought we were going home."
How funny would it be if we thought we were going home, like the plane just turns around and ends up going to another stadium? It's just like, we got a new game the next day. We're just like, we're supposed to be going home.
Not anymore. You're not.
The plane turns around. We're going back.
Attention, this is your captain speaking. We would just like to inform the film crew that you are not, in fact, going home.
If I heard that, I thought I would be thinking that the plane's about to go kamikaze. And I'm just like, what? No. I don't want to die like this. I'm only 20.
Only 20? Yeah, I forget that Will's
we are martial style.
I forget that Will's an old fart.
Yeah, I'm an old head, clearly.
Yeah, he's got some age on him, as you can tell. He's had a few years of experience, you know?
Experience in what?
In life.
Yeah.
In living.
What are you, like 18 or something?
Yeah.
Then you got a few years to you. Funny thing is, I don't think we're even in the contrast of like how old people are. Like, we're still in the prime of our life, so we ain't getting old yet. We're young forever. Woo! Okay, I need to stop yelling because it's getting late at night, and there's probably people who's going to be sleeping. Even though the only people here left are like football players, because of the fact that we gotta travel and like go to this New Orleans game. So, and they probably don't care, but like still,
they're probably partying. I mean, they don't have anything better to do tomorrow.
As far as I can tell, none of my other roommates are here, so they probably don't care either, because they're back at home.
Yeah, one of my roommates is gone. The other one is still here, but I can guarantee you he's not sleeping right now. He's probably going to be up until like at least 5 a.m.
Yeah. And what sucks too is just like, even though I do need a good amount of sleep because I'm going to be... Here's the deal. Tomorrow is when we head to New Orleans, right? And we're taking a bus to New Orleans. From here in Jacksonville, Alabama, all the way to New Orleans. And it's going to be a 6-hour drive. And because of that, we got to be at the office at like 6:40. or something like that. Which, for
It's
someone who
6:40.
doesn't like getting up early in the morning, and for someone who had a huge nap earlier today, tonight I'm barely going to be able to sleep. So that's my life. And by the time this episode comes out, none of that's gonna matter. I'm probably gonna be in New Orleans when it comes out, just like off at dinner or something. At whatever restaurants are in New Orleans.
Gonna be having dinner with the buddies.
With the boys.
All his film buddies.
You know what's funny? Some of them actually watch this, and they're gonna come up to me like, "When did you say we were ever buddies? We just haven't worked." No. They were like,
"I just don't want you to get the wrong idea, man."
But nah, yeah, that's whatever. Do you got any other like small talk for the beginning of this podcast?
Yeah, there was a YouTube post I saw that made me question everything that I ever knew.
Elaborate.
So it's kind of like supposed to be like a half joke, but it's also here's the thing. I'm gonna make a statement, and I want you to tell me.
He's gonna make a statement, everybody. Get ready.
I want you to tell me if you think this statement is true or false. Okay?
Okay.
There's more.
True.
Wait, I get
it. Go ahead.
I gotta remember what it is. It goes like, there's more hydrogen atoms in a single molecule of water than there are stars in the entire solar system.
Well, I mean, mathematically wise, there's like a bunch of atoms to the point where you have to. I forgot exactly what it is, but it's like 10 to the power of whatever to like be able to actually calculate it.
Uh-huh.
To like.
Uh-huh.
And we're like. I don't really have a hard time believing that, because I know that atoms.
I want to repeat it. I want you to listen closely. There's more atoms. There's more hydrogen atoms in a single molecule of water than there are stars in the entire solar system.
And I get that is kind of like how would you be able to know? Because like I know that the universe is like infinitely big.
Yeah.
And I guess you can make the argument that like even if it's not infinite, the fact just the sheer size of it could make like.
Yeah. And see, that's like, what I thought. That's what I thought. Make it not
much of a comparison. I mean, also, I could kind of see it working both ways, honestly.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. But
like, if we're talking about just a single molecule of water, that I do find hard to believe. Like,
I'm gonna make you feel exactly how I felt after I realized. Will, I want you to answer a question for me. How many hydrogen atoms are in one molecule of water?
I don't know. I'm not smart.
What is the chemical formula for water? What molecule?
I don't know.
Makes...
I haven't been to actual
How do you not
school.
know? How do you not know this?
I'm not smart. I don't pay attention to stuff like that. What do you think I am, a nerd?
People typing angry comments right now.
I bet the comments don't care. I bet the chat doesn't care. Hey, chat, do you know what the molecule, like, what have you said? You gotta understand. I don't. Not only do I not know about that, like I was probably taught it in class, but I don't remember. But I also don't care.
Okay, but have you ever heard water called H2O?
Yes.
That's the chemical formula for water. H2O. There's 2 hydrogen atoms, 1 oxygen atom. They make a molecule of water. That's what a molecule of water is made out of. 2 hydrogen atoms, 1 oxygen atom. There's 2 hydrogen atoms in 1 molecule of water. Now answer me this. How many stars are in our solar system?
At least 5.
What? Will.
No, I'm making a joke because you said there's 2 hydrogen atoms, and I wanted to say a number that's higher than 2, but I didn't want to say like a million or like 1 trillion or anything. I just wanted to. But I think the joke was about to fly over your head, so.
How many, Will? How many stars?
For a serious answer, I'd probably have to go with random guess.
In the in the solar system.
In the solar system, right? Not in the Milky Way. Totally not looking this up. We have 1 star, 8 planets, 5 recognized dwarf planets.
How many stars?
This one says 1 star.
Yeah. What star is that, Will? What star is the one that's in our...
It's just called 1 star.
What star is in our solar system, Will? When you look up in the sky during the day, what's that big, bright, burning ball that you see?
Are you talking about sun?
So that's part of our solar system, right? We orbit around the sun. How many stars, Will?
Yeah.
How many stars?
1.
And how many hydrogen atoms did I say were in a molecule of water?
2.
Do you get it now? There's more hydrogen atoms in a single molecule of water than stars in the entire solar system.
Well,
2 is great.
Hold on.
2 is greater than 1, is it not? 2, yeah.
That depends. That might be what NASA says, but is that what you say? When you go up to this, when you look up in the sky and you say, look at all those stars, are you really going to correct them saying, technically there's only 1 star? Like, yeah, we all know the sun is the 1 true star, but that doesn't mean all those things in the sky are also stars.
Those stars are not in our solar system, Will.
But they're in the sky, so like...
He's having the exact same reaction that I had. This is how a YouTube post. This is how a YouTube post drove me insane for like 3 days.
Anyways, enough of
thank you for participating in this social experiment. Long story short, the statement is true. It's designed to be overthought and make you like. Will did exactly what whoever made that statement up wanted people to do. Will fell for it, is what he did, just like I did. But now I know better, and now Will does too. So moving on.
Moving on. Alright, so, Steven. Yes. Ignoring what I already have written down right here to make it clear. Just, hold on. Ignoring that.
It blacks it out.
Are you familiar with the concept of an idiom?
Well, since I already know what you had written down there before you blocked it out, I mean, well, disregarding that, since you said that, disregarding that part, I've heard, like, the term, but I'm not, like, entirely familiar with what it means.
Alright. So, idioms are basically like those sayings that we have to, like, describe something without explicitly saying it. So, the example I had right here of, like, have you heard the phrase, take it with a grain of salt? When you're being fed information that may or may not be factual.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you meant, like, he wrote down, for the audience, he wrote down, take it with a grain of salt type sayings. I thought that literally meant sayings that you have to take with a grain of salt.
No. I'm talking about the sayings are like this. That are like saying, take it with a grain of salt.
So you're saying
things that we literally have to take with a grain of salt.
So take it with a grain of salt is an idiom, is what you're saying.
Yes, that's the example of an idiom. Here's some other examples. Saying, let's make sure we're all on the same page. That's another example of it. Idiom saying on the same page means being in a general agreement. Saying something is up in the air, saying it's still debatable. Like, it's just stuff like that where we, instead of just saying
it's not set in stone.
Like, instead of just saying it how it is, we have like unique ways of saying it, saying it's up in the air or it's like that.
Yeah, I feel like the reason for that, I don't know if Will was actually going to ask me about this, but I feel like the main reason for that is...
And we're back. We cut out. We got internet connection issues, so that's why. But anyway, Steven, as you were saying...
It has to do with the fact that Will's recording on a MacBook, because we all know Apple is vastly inferior to literally everything else.
How's the type of computer I have the issue? It's clearly a Wi-Fi thing.
Because it's a way for me to hate on Apple.
This guy, am I right? This guy. Or if he's right here, I don't know. Yeah, because remember that infamous first episode where we tried to do that whole Wi-Fi thing?
Yeah.
And we were just on the because we were out of sync. We made it several times, but on my screen it never looked like it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, internet delay. You're on my side, on the side that's being recorded for the podcast, my video feed is on the same side of you as your Falcons poster, just for reference.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So it's like right here. So anyways, we're getting off topic.
Yeah.
Alright, so let me So back to talking about idioms. What inspired me to talk about this was actually with the take it with a grain of salt saying. And it actually happened today. I was at football and we were just done with another practice. And we ended up talking about that, like where that phrase "take it with a grain of salt" actually came from and what it actually meant. Like we knew what it meant, but like where did it actually come from? How did it end up being representative of this thing that it represents? Like saying something is up, like something may or may not be accurate. And I forgot like someone looked it up and like saw what it actually derived from. But this had me thinking, and this is kind of the whole point. This is kind of the whole point of the entire topic, is I wanted us to create our own idioms, like create our own sayings. Because each of these idioms are derived from something that people would do back in the day. And they don't do it now, but they will. But like,
yeah.
But they'll still refer to it as such.
All we have to do to come up with one is just look at something that we would do back in the day, right?
Oh no! What I wanted to do was create an idiom that's going to be used in the future. Like there's going to be future idioms that are going to be used, and some of these are already been made for us. Like flying in the DMs, you could technically say it's an idiom.
Maybe.
But like
I feel like that one specifically kind of stretches the definition a little bit, but like you, depending on how you look at it, you could say that it is one.
Or like I guess I think a better example of an idiom when I think about it would be like catching the L or catching the W, because that right there has like multiple different meanings. Like, and it also just kind of has like, well, not really different meanings, but like the general meaning of like you're either like being good at something or you're like something unfortunate, like something fortunate or something unfortunate happening to you, or like stuff like that. It's just you either catching the W or like some people say catching the dub, like they say dub for short, and like catching the L.
Or like sometimes
could be an example of a modern idiom.
Yeah.
But what I
or
want to
like
try to do
sometimes
is good.
I was just gonna say, like, sometimes even, like, you know, if something just happens, like, you know, like, you got lucky with something, or you got unlucky with something, somebody will just like, oh yeah, that's such an L, or that's a big dub, or something like that.
Yeah.
I feel like, I kind of feel like it's kind of
what?
weird to think about that, because, like, you kind of think of, like, sayings like that being used more, like, in the gamer type of space, but, like,
yeah,
maybe they're kind of starting to be used, like, more outside of that.
Right. But I just want to think, like, what other idioms could we come up with like, stuff that happens nowadays? Like, I guess, for example, the way we're, like, always, like, like, the internet is, like, more prominent in our lives more than ever. And
Yeah.
I guess there's also the saying of being chronically online. Could that technically be considered an idiom? Or, like,
Maybe,
to show
'cause,
that
like,
someone
if you,
spends all their time online?
like, if you think about it, like, the
You're
definition
frozen
of it,
again.
oh, you are
okay.
also
You're frozen temporarily. It's fine. It's fine. We'll still go.
Okay, so if you think about like the definition of an idiom being like something that like meant one thing at a certain point in time and then got adapted as a saying to mean something else in the future, you could say that chronically online could be one, because the term chronic is usually used for like illnesses that are like repetitive or like persistent. They stay with you and they don't go away.
Yeah.
And being online is not really an illness. It's more like a habit, but using the term chronic with it is basically just a way of saying like it's something that people get into the habit of and they stick with it, and it's really hard to like, you know, get away from it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Like, something that has, to describe something that's negative, you put a negative connotation, like a word that has negative connotation, you associate it with that thing that someone's like negatively addicted to, and that's basically what you're like, for example, like, we're unfunny, which is a bad thing, so you add a negative connotation with like chronically. We're chronically
We're
unfunny.
chronically unfunny.
That's the title of this episode.
That's the title of the episode.
We are
the title of the
chronically
episode.
unfunny.
That's perfect. That is perfect.
Yeah. Matter of fact, we're gonna rename our podcast to
Chronically
we're gonna
Unfunny.
rename it Chronically Unfunny. I don't know. Nah. I'm probably gonna keep it to True Mixer. We're gonna create a new podcast that's gonna be basically the same exact thing.
Yeah.
No difference. But we're just creating a new brand name. Like a new, I don't know.
We're rebranding just like Twitter did. It's still the same thing,
this would
but
be,
under a different...
no. What I'm talking about, this would be like if Elon Musk made a new app called X, and it was basically Twitter again.
But Twitter
So
still existed.
There would be Twitter and X. That's essentially what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
True Mixer, and there's also Chronically Unfunny, the podcast.
So make sure to look out next week, guys, for the first ever episode of Chronically Unfunny.
So that's about it. Next thing, y'all know it. Say it with
Y'all
me.
love it.
It's
The Kanye,
Kanye
segment.
segment. So for this Kanye segment, I wanted to once again take a look back on some of his most iconic moments, or I guess some of his most talked about. Like, I don't know how it says this up. So basically, Steven, are you aware of what South Park is?
Yeah. So, it's like one of those like comedy animated cartoon style things.
Yeah.
I think it's like
You think?
it's like it's an animated cartoon, like it's a show, but it's cartoon style, and it's kind of like a comedy show, but it's animated instead of live action. I've never seen it, but I like know roughly what it is. I think it's kind of similar to like Family Guy or Rick and Morty. I would group those into the same category. I would group those into the same category.
Yeah, that they are in the same category. Basically, South Park, just to give a synopsis of it, it's basically just it's a satirical show where they basically have commentary on like celebrities and pop culture stuff, kind of like what we do to a sense, but like they have a lot more like nihilistic view on it. But it's also like they also implement comedy to like get their point across. But basically, there's an episode of South Park that had Kanye West in it. And for those who know what I'm talking about, I'm not talking about the recent ones of like his like InfoWars stuff. No, I'm talking about the one from like 2010 or something like that. And basically the premise of the episode is Kanye West is told a joke and he keeps going on and on about not getting the joke. And I'm not gonna ruin what the joke is. It's pretty funny, but he takes it super literal, and it's just like
I'm just imagining the entire episode. Like someone tells a really funny joke at the beginning of the episode, and the whole audience is like laughing because it's like super funny and everything. And then the entire rest of the episode, there's this one character that's just like, I don't get it, guys. What's so funny?
He keeps thinking it's an insult. Like people, it's the type of joke that like you like say at someone like it sounds like something, but it's really another. And it's like you have to like. But if you interpret it as how it sounds and not like what it is and not how it sounds, which could be suggestive, is like it's hard to explain without flat out saying what it is. But I really do think it's worth just like looking at it. But basically, the reason why I bring this up is because after this episode, Kanye West would make like disses at South Park saying, you know, like. I don't know how to describe it exactly, but like basically just he mentioned them in a song, and people and like the funny thing is he says it in a way where it sounds like he still doesn't get the joke, and it was as recent as 2020 he was in a song talking about it, and people are like it's so funny how in cartoon and also in real life he still doesn't get the joke. So. Yeah, I know I'm being extremely vague with it, but if you've seen the episode that I'm talking about, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
You should go watch the episode, because it's good. I'm not going to watch it, but you should.
Wow.
But you think I watch cartoons? You think I know how to be cultured?
They're really good.
You think I know how to be cultured?
You should be cultured.
I'm the same guy who hasn't watched Scooby-Doo.
I feel like we've mentioned that like the 7th time, if not more.
Because it was the best reaction that you had to it. I can still see like the clip of it where you just be like, "What?" Like you actually panicked.
I was in panic mode over it. All right.
He could not believe it. I was
absolutely flabbergasted. Anyways, this next topic, I'm pretty sure this is one you wrote.
Yeah. So, Will.
Steven.
Have you ever noticed, especially in like professional or formal situations, how like there's different types of like language and like ways of utilizing the language that people will use, whether they're writing something or they're like giving a speech. But, like you look at like like an essay, for example, or like a paper or like a professional email or something like that, or a document or something like that, and you look at how it's written, and then you look at like, and I'm not just talking about like people talking to each other like we do, like a formal like scripted speech, like where the person speaking has
if you're like
a list of things to say.
Yeah, like speaking at like a convention or something.
But like, even though those are both like in the same context, like you have a professional document or you have a professional speech, even in similar contexts like that, there's different standards that like we as a society kind of hold people to in terms of being like grammatically correct, whether we're writing or speaking. I think.
Say, I've never thought about that. Here's my thinking. First off, how people like absorb knowledge through writing versus how they absorb knowledge through speaking, someone speaking. I have to imagine they're pretty like different because like on one hand, and also in the context of like of how each one's presented, if you have like a grammatical error in like speaking, people are usually more forgiving because it's in a public speaking scenario where you kind of have like, even if you have like notes on what you're talking about, you don't exactly have like a transcript for or like a script for what you're gonna say. So essentially, you're kind of going on the fly with like what you're talking about, and like, so in that case, if you had like a error with like how you said something, I feel like people are more forgiving because they know what goes on during a speech. Whereas with writing, if you have grammatical error, it's a lot more noticeable and it's a lot less something that people are willing to overlook because this is something that the person had to like sit down and like actually think about what they're writing, and like they had people are under the impression that they had time to proofread it and yet they didn't. So what does that say about their professionalism and how seriously they take their work? That's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah.
So in a sense, I do think it is understandable why there are different standards for writing and speaking. It just kind of depends on what the topic or like what the thing is about. Like, and even that's not the most important. The most important thing is just like how what goes into speaking and like public speaking versus what goes into writing. Because with public speaking, like no matter how good you are with like public speaking, you have to admit that there is like a little bit of pressure that can be put onto you, which makes you more vulnerable to having like more like mess ups with like things like being grammatically correct. Whereas with writing, there is pressure, but it's not really like in the moment pressure where you have to kind of like bounce back from it immediately. If you have an error when typing, you have time to like look it over and correct it. So right. I feel like that's kind of the standard that people are under.
Yeah.
The impression that people are under.
I think that's a good way of looking at it, yeah. Whereas like with writing, like you said, you can correct you can like look at mistakes that are made in grammar and correct them. Whereas with speaking, like I think saying like, you know, people are more forgiving with speech than they are with writing, I think that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. And of course there's gonna be those people out there who are like who aren't forgiving if someone has a mess up during public speaking. Like if they mess up once, it's just like automatically not interested in anything else you have to say. You made that one error, I'm out. I'm taking my business elsewhere. Like obviously you're gonna have those people, but you're also gonna have the people who are more understanding on that. Whereas with writing, if those same people were to see that error in writing, some may forgive it, but I feel like more people would be like, what is this? You had time to correct this. Is this how serious you take your business or whatever else you're talking about? Like, come on.
Yeah. Imagine though, like, imagine if speaking was held to the same standard as writing, and you just had like one you paused slightly too long in one spot. Oh no! Everybody discredits your whole speech.
I know. Also, I've been to public speaking classes, and one thing that I always struggled with was keeping my hands visible. Because that's another thing they talk about. Your hands. Try to keep your hands always visible and never have them in your pockets, or like have them shift around as you talk. Just like have your hands be expressive and like refer to like what you're talking about, like whether it be on screen or like just giving a TED talk, just like keep your hands visible and like never have them at your side, drip down. Like that's
I guess it's like
that too.
Yeah,
like, it's not just what you say; it's also how you present yourself that a lot of the pressure does come from. So,
well,
yeah.
Will's preparing me for public speaking a whole semester before I have to take it.
Oh, trust me, they're gonna talk about that.
Yeah, I am taking public speaking next semester, or I might be. I don't know. I haven't gotten the schedule fully figured out yet, but that was just something interesting an interesting thought that I had. Like, you see different like levels of acceptance for grammar and different like standards for grammar in writing and in speaking.
Right. All right. And with that said, time for our final topic. Now, full disclosure, the previous episode that we released was actually made. We released it on Friday the 8th, but it was recorded like a whole week before. Like it was like on the Tuesday on the final week of November.
Funny story about that. What happened was basically we recorded the episode, right? And then Will I think didn't get the episode like out on that Friday.
Yeah,
and he called.
Where it's like I had it, and all I had to do was put it up to be published, but I forgot to do that. And by the time I realized this, I was like conflicted as to whether or not I just released it early or if I just released it next week.
Yeah. So what he did was what actually happened was like he called me in the middle of the week and he said, so like that one episode that didn't get released, I was gonna release that one like on this Friday because we already passed the Friday after we recorded it. So it was like, I'm gonna release it on this Friday, but we're still gonna record another episode this week, and we're just gonna have a double episode on Friday.
That was the initial idea. And then I thought about it. I was like, at this stage, like where we're at, we are only at like 21 subscribers. So it's like we're not big enough for people to care about that. And it's like, as much as I always retain optimism that we're gonna grow our podcast eventually, like we are not at that level yet for people to care about a double episode.
Yeah. So he comes back in that same week. Later in the week, and he was like, oh yeah, so I decided I'm just gonna use the last episode as this week's episode, and we're not gonna record an episode this week. So then last week's episode was actually the one that we recorded the week before that. We didn't record an episode last week, so we're recording this episode after a week break. I know it's confusing, but
and I say all that to say, last week, while we had this episode pending to be released, that's when the trailer for the new game Grand Theft Auto 6 was released. Now, Steven, are you aware of the hype that has been around this game?
A little bit, yeah. Like, so I've seen, like, obviously, I know what GTA 5 is. Like it's like, you know, one of the big games, you know, everybody kind of plays it. But it's been out for so long at this point. I think it's like 10 years at this point.
Yeah, 10 years. Out.
But basically, and I'm sure people probably know this, especially with all the hype surrounding the new trailer, but it kind of became a meme over time, like how long it was going to be before GTA 6 came out.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, so the closest thing I can relate it to is it was kind of like the Queen of England memes, like people saying the Queen of England is never gonna die, and then she did.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like that. People are saying like GTA 6 is never gonna come out, and now it is. So it's
There's
kind of gives the
people who are convinced that the funny thing about that is there are people who are still convinced that this game, like that trailer, it's all cap. They're not actually releasing it. They're just teasing us. It's not coming out until 2045.
2045. Yeah.
They're lying to us. It has to be fake, even though it's the official YouTube channel. And it's just like
Yeah.
they announced 2025 is when they're actually dropping it, and it's actual like it's not game footage, but it's like a good look at like the campaign.
Yeah.
I think.
Didn't they show off like the whatever like engine they're using, and people are talking about like how good the graphics are? I haven't actually seen the trailer, and I know that there's a lot of hype going on, but I haven't actually really seen a lot of the hype because I don't really follow any communities that talk about GTA heavily.
Right. But this is just a game that. Have you at the very least looked at the view count?
No, I have no idea how many views it has.
You have to understand, like, in about a day or two, the view count surpassed what GTA 5 trailer had. Like, it was actually insane. Let me look up real quick. Like, as of right now, you remember a few weeks ago we were talking about the Amazing Digital Circus raking a bunch of views?
Yeah, we were talking about like how much bigger the view count on that video was than like the previous ones.
Alright. I just want you to guess. Alright, so picture this, right? 7 days ago, this trailer, don't look it up or anything, don't cheat.
Okay.
7 days ago, this trailer was released. If you had to guess how many views it had, just estimated wise, how many would you say?
800 million.
That's a little extreme. You might want to lower that down a little bit.
A little bit high. Okay, so like 300 million.
Okay, it's very. I was expecting you to underball it a little bit, but it's actually 142 million views in 7 days. That's what I really want to emphasize right now. 7 days. It racked up this amount of views. I'm pretty sure they broke a record with that. Like, they broke a record for, like, the most amount of views a video received in, like, 24 hours.
What did you say it was? Like 100 and something million?
142 million. In 7 days.
I'm just doing some quick maths. So that is nearly 18% of the total world population watched that video in a week.
Yeah, basically. and here's the extra funny thing. And kind of also what I want to talk about. So, as we all know, Grand Theft Auto is a game where you are a criminal, essentially. And everyone is on the same page. It's the idiom I'm using. We're call back to
on
that.
On the same page.
Everyone's on the same page on the fact that this is just a video game. And obviously there are exceptions to this.
And that we are not in any way promoting criminal activity, etc.
No. Look, with exceptions, there are barely any cases where people are violent because of the game itself. Or at the very least, there are very few cases where the game is the sole purpose of someone going violent. But with that said,
I feel like this is about to lead into a discussion of like some people on the internet getting upset because they think that GTA 6 is gonna like increase the violence, the video game influenced violence.
But
I feel like that's where this is going.
Here's what a lot of people are taking issue with. And I think I also mentioned Elon Musk, but Elon Musk, along with other people like Andrew Tate, haven't heard that name in a while, haven't you?
I don't think I know who that is. I know he's like.
Okay, look, hold on. Let me talk about this real quick.
I know he's a popular guy.
We might have talked about him back when he was actually popular, but he basically came up and he basically embodied the definition of what being an alpha male is. Have you heard that term at all?
Yeah, like that picture of like the guy with the big muscular guy with the beard and stuff, and everybody calls him Giga Chad. Like if you know what Giga Chat
No,
is.
no. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the. Have you seen an image of a bald guy with a cigar and with sunglasses on in a podcast setting, just talking in a Romanian accent?
I have not.
After all these years, and I sometimes still forget you live under a rock. But anyways,
For some reason, I don't know why. For some reason, I'm finding it difficult to picture a bald guy with a cigar. I don't know why.
What?
I don't know why.
You know what? No, that's the new title. Steven can't imagine the possibility of bald men smoking. Like that's just not an image that exists.
No, I'm sure it exists. It's just for some reason, I guess I've just never seen. Like I can't. It's hard to picture it.
Why? Just picture a bald guy with a cigar. It's not that hard.
Like cigars just don't go with them, you know?
What are you talking about? Cigars are literally like men in like business suits, like usually bald with cigars. It's like a common image for like someone who's like mega rich and is like at the top of the industry or something.
Yeah. No, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. I just never like I don't know if I never noticed or something like that, but like I've just never thought of them
Do you just
as
not
bald.
believe that bald people exist? Is that what it is?
No, they exist. I mean, your dad exists.
Wow, okay.
Shots have been fired.
You ain't gotta grab my dad like that now. I mean, he knows he's bald, to be fair, but like still though.
Hey, I didn't say it was a bad thing, okay? Bald people are cool in my opinion. I think that bald is a cool look. It's just like for some reason difficult.
But they just
for me
don't
to picture.
exist. That's what you're saying.
No,
Okay, I get
no,
it.
it's just difficult for me to picture one with a cigar for whatever reason.
It's not that hard. Can you picture someone with a cigar?
Yeah.
Now picture them with a shaved head. Take that exact image and just remove the hair. Do you see it now?
The picture I came up with was an old homeless man at a gas station who's kind of fat and has a really like and has a really
This is amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, we are witnessing a man who is struggling with the idea of a bald man with a cigar. Not a cigar, a cigar.
I'm not like I said, I'm not struggling with the idea. I have no doubt that they exist. I know for a fact that they exist, right? It's just I can't come up with a picture, a mental image for one.
All right. That's an entire like entire sidetrack, but basically just imagine.
So how does this tie back into GTA 6?
All right, just picture Elon Musk and this Andrew Tate guy that you just can't come up with in your image. Just basically all you need to know is they're very famous people, and they're coming out saying that they don't like this new game because it's going to teach people to be violent against cops. Like
teach people.
So
like
basically,
it's a training system. It's gonna teach people. It's gonna tell you in the game to go out and be violent toward cops. The game's gonna tell you that directly. It's gonna teach you.
No. You know what it's gonna do? It's gonna tell you, forget shooting cops in the game. How about you just go ahead and shoot cops in real life? Go ahead and do all of this. Like that's what they're imagining this game is gonna do. And
like,
it's just like,
here's
and
my
this is not a new argument, by the way. This is not a new argument, but it's just
been around
like
for a while. Here's my stance.
But,
like I just want to put this out there. I know this is probably getting a little bit close to the politics boundary, but my take on the whole like video games cause violence thing is like the reason that people are saying video games cause violence is because they're making an arbitrary connection between people who play violent video games and people who commit violence. And they're saying like, oh, they do those things in the game, so it's encouraging them to do them in real life. A game is a game, and it is not real life, and most people know that. In my opinion, if you can't tell the difference between a video game and real life, you have bigger issues. The game is not the problem.
Exactly. That's part of the argument too. It's just like, should video game, like, the people who say there shouldn't be video games because it's going to cause, like, let's say there's someone who's like going through like a mental illness or something, or like they have like a psychotic like personality that like it just needs that spark to like ignite it, and video games are that spark. To that, I would say they would probably get that spark from somewhere else anyways. Just like
you could get the exact same effect. You could get the exact same effect by watching like a TV show or a movie that's violent. Like, it doesn't have to be a video game. People just go after video games for whatever reason.
And it's just like there's just things that are just not real. That is like, it's not a cause. And also, this is kind of going on a side tangent for me, but I'd say when it comes to that argument, I'd say the only piece of media that I can kind of see it having like an actual effect is with violent music. Because unlike with games or movies, music to an extent is a reflection on a lot of people's realities. Like, let's say violent rap, like, because this is essentially what the whole discussion is based around. And this isn't the only example, but basically violent rap does tend to come from a lot of people who are like living that violent lifestyle, and they do in a sense promote it so that someone can listen to it who is not involved with that lifestyle, suddenly getting thrust into that lifestyle because of their attachment to that artist who's making that type of music. And I'm not saying people shouldn't listen to that type of music. I listen to it all the time. But what I'm essentially saying is that's the only scenario where this argument holds water, and that's purely because that's the only
you used
time.
Another idiom.
Where... Say what?
You used another idiom, an argument holding water.
Oh, yeah. But that's the only time an argument holds water for me. Any other time, I just look at it, and I just kind of have to look at it and just be like, if it's not based in reality, there shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah. Like, the thing is, like, it's like, the thing is, like I said, like, the game itself or the TV show or movie or anything like that, the piece of media itself is not the problem. Because you don't see like everybody. You don't see everybody going out and like, you know, they're playing this one specific game or they're watching this one specific movie, and then like, you know, people are going out in like lots of people, like a measurable amount of people being influenced in such a way. Like, you don't see that happening because most people are sane people.
If it does happen, it's usually because there's other things that are causing it. It's not like, I don't think there's ever been a case. I don't think there's ever been a case where a video game was the only single reason someone could. There might have been like a case out there, but I don't think there's I don't think there's a double-digit amount of cases where a single game, just one video game, was the only reason. They had nothing wrong with them mentally. They had no other reason to do it. It's just because it's one game. They're completely fine. They're living perfectly fine lives, and they play one video game, and then they go out and ruin their life. Like that, to me, does not happen. There's always other factors that I feel like don't get put into that aren't taken into consideration.
Yeah, like again, like I said, it has to do with the ability to tell the difference between a video game and reality, and being able to tell that something you can do in a video game does not translate to something that you can do in reality. A person who is not able to tell that has something going on outside of the video game.
And I do want to mention this too. Like, it all comes down to nuance, right? Basically saying that there's more to it than it's more than just a black and white issue. It's just there's nuance to it. And I see the argument too that like parents are afraid like kids are playing it, which I mean, first off, that's none of Rockstar's responsibility of whether or not kids are going to be playing it, because there's a rating system that's on the game saying it's for adults.
Exactly. So, and that's what I was going to say.
Parents,
it's like, you know,
and this isn't the only.
There's a reason. Yeah, that's what I was just. There's a reason why these games are rated, right? There's a reason why we have the ESRB to put these ratings on games. That rating is there specifically to tell you that kids should not be playing this game. And if kids are playing this game, that's your issue.
And can I just go on a rant real quick? This is kind of like something that really like just makes me mad. Just it's like when people are making media, they're like creating something, and it either touches on a certain issue or it contains material in it that you wouldn't want a child watching, because children don't understand that what they're watching is not, and that's probably the only instance where a media not based in reality can negatively affect if a kid watches it. But like I said, if the creator explicitly states that this is not for children, and we all know that children are going to watch them anyway. Yeah, it kind of goes to like the parents' responsibility, and I feel like so many parents nowadays, they are just not understanding that it is up to them to look into what they're consuming, see if it's doing any harm, and if they're playing it anyways, talk to them exactly. And teach them right from wrong, and teach them what nuance is in media, because I'm so sick to death of seeing all these complaints whenever a movie comes out, whenever a game comes out, whenever music comes out, and they're acting shocked. And also this applies to content that's coming out today. Like there's streamers out there and there's like kids watching them, and they're like, maybe like because kids nowadays are growing up online, and there's a lot of bad stuff online. Kids are more likely to like consume all that toxicity and then basically just you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. I think it also ties into, like you said, it's kind of on the parents. It absolutely is on the parents. I think that like the amount of toxicity online, and the fact that you said, like, you know, kids who go online are gonna consume all of that because it's just out there. It's so easy to get to. I think that also ties into an issue with like how young and how early we're letting kids access the internet, especially unrestricted.
And that's the thing too. And here's another thing too. Just telling your kids to not go on the internet and telling them to not check it out, that's not the same as teaching them from right from wrong. And this is another thing too. Just going back to parents, just like this is something that just like, contrary to popular belief, kids are not as dumb, or at the very least, they're not dumb in the way that we interpret them to be. Well, yes, they are very immature, and they definitely have not a whole lot of common sense built up. What they do have is intelligence enough so to know that there's something there to the stuff that they're not supposed to be seeing, and there is a reason why it's there. And basically telling them just straight up don't look at it at all and don't even think about doing any of that, that's not teaching them what they need to know about it, to know why it could be potentially dangerous. You have to actually talk with them and make sure they actually know the difference, and they actually know like what's out there. And it's up to the kids to like build, like, because their minds are still being like building on what they learn. So if you teach them about nuance at an early age, then that basically kind of does the work for you, on like them being able to filter out what's needed for them and what they should probably be consuming and what they shouldn't be consuming. But so many parents don't do that. They just tell them, that's bad, end of story. And it's just like, that's not teaching them. They're going to check it out just because you were so vague about it. And if you actually talk with them about it, then that's not going to happen, or at least it's less likely to happen, because you're actually treating them and as the smart person that you hope they grow up to be. And I think that's why so many kids these days is just, I don't know. I could go on and on forever about this, but I don't know. Yeah. What are your thoughts on this?
I'm sure everyone has probably heard the saying, like, it's not illegal if you don't get caught. That kind of thing. It kind of is like that. Like, if a parent just tells their kid, don't do that, it's bad. That's basically exactly what a rule or a law says. Yeah, because
as a kid, still developing. As another thing, as a kid, still developing common sense and like morality. Like your morality is still being, like, you're still learning what morality is. So just telling them what something good is or what something bad is, they don't have they have an understanding of it, but they don't have a clear like way of applying that knowledge to what they have. I'm not saying they don't know what good or bad is. Like, they know obviously what it is. It's a very simple understanding, but
it's the fact that they like it's the desire to like go against instruction. Right? Like all of us, all kids, I'm sure anyone with kids or who knows kids probably knows this. Kids just have like a primal desire to go against what they're told, right? So like if you tell your kid not to do something and you don't follow up on that, you just tell them like don't do that and you leave them, they're gonna go do it. You have to actually monitor and make sure and enforce the fact that they don't do it. You can't just tell them not to do it because they're gonna go do it anyway. You have to make sure that they don't do it. It's why laws have to be enforced, because if laws were just there and weren't enforced, nobody would care. Because they're not enforced. There's no consequence or punishment for breaking them. Laws have to be enforced for them to mean anything. You have to enforce your commands to your kid for them to mean anything.
Right. And furthermore, it goes beyond that too. You have to teach them why they need those commands. They need to meet those commands. They need to teach them why this is in the best interest for them. You need to teach them why this is going to turn out the best for them. And obviously as a kid, they're not going to understand, like, you know, telling them to look both ways. Like, if you don't teach them the concept of like what they're doing could lead to a good outcome or a bad outcome, like, they're just going to have that reinforcement. They're going to have like all this stuff enforced and they're just following it. But in order, and full disclosure, like I said, I'm 20. I don't have kids, so I'm not. So I know it's difficult to like always talk to your kids like 24/7. But just like, I feel like parents just don't do that. You know what I mean?
I mean, like I think that I was raised with pretty good parents. I feel like
I was too.
I feel like I'm the way that I am now, in large part because of the way that my parents taught me. It's not impossible. It might be difficult, but if it means the difference between your kid turning out to be a terrible person and your kid turning out to be a great person, that's kind of important. Yeah.
Like, I remember as a kid, I was always wanting, like, these video games like Call of Duty and like Grand Theft Auto. I was always wanting them. My parents would always tell me, "No, you're too young. You can't have that." And
that's exactly what more parents need to be doing. Not just with video games and stuff like that, but like with any kind of media, and especially with like unrestricted access to the internet. There needs to be moderation, and parents need to like raise their kids properly, I guess.
Right. And it's just like me not growing up in that community of like trash talkers and like all of that. I feel like because of that, I've grown up to have a lot more empathy and a lot more like, and this is also part of like why, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is I grew up very sheltered and I grew up very like, so I think because of that, I ended up growing up with like more of like me thinking about what I do and like thinking about what I say and like thinking about all of that. And it's just like I may not agree with everything my parents, like how overprotected they were, but I am at the very least very grateful that they were, because I turned out the way I am. And I'm like, I feel like I'm a lot more kind. Like I have my moments where like I could like not be kind, but like I always feel bad if I'm not kind to someone on a day because I like felt bad or something. And that's something I feel like a lot of people don't have. I feel like a lot of people just straight up don't care if they're kind to someone. And if they aren't, I feel like they don't have that like guilt of like not doing it. Like I definitely have guilt if I'm ever like mean to anyone. Like even if I'm not meant, if I'm not meaning to be, I always kind of have that guilt of just like I could have probably said what I said in a kinder way, or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is just by how I was raised. So like my mom and dad, if you're watching this, I love y'all to death. For my kid, they probably got bored watching this.
They clicked off after like 5 minutes.
We raised our kid for him to do this. This boring crap. Yeah.
This is what we raised.
But yeah, that's about it. How long is this episode?
That was quite a rant. Let's see, running time 1 minute or 1 hour 19 minutes.
Oh wow, yeah. And part of that is going to get cut out due to like the Wi-Fi issue before, but yeah, this turned out to be a good episode, or like a good length episode, I should say. Like whether or not the episode is good or not, you can be the judge of that, viewer.
Leave us a like and a comment down below, and don't forget to smash that subscribe button.
No. Tell them to like and then comment, and then we have our little saying at the end. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Oh, you ready? All right.
No. As
always, please like and subscribe
for another episode of To Whom It May Concern.
We're out of sync. Oh well.
Yeah,
bye everyone.
There's no way we're syncing.